Softball coach S.A. case ends in shocking verdict.
Could have faced a life sentence in prison if she was convicted. But after a trial that lasted several days, it only took the jury 30 minutes to acquit her. And that now brings us to a new lawsuit that we're going to talk about. But here's what we know about the case to get you up to speed. So Lutz was arrested in March of 2023. She was charged with 2 felony counts of sexual battery of a minor, very serious charges. And authorities said that this alleged abuse happened between September 2021 and June 2022 before the student turned 18.
What up, you 20 Directions Live Breakdown video? Yes, we're going deep diving into a trial. We're shooting tied up. How you doing? We about to see what the shocking verdict is together. Hit the like button, comment below, let me know. Subscribe, join the family road to 100,000 subscribers. Please go to Law and Crime Network. Shout out to them for dropping this video. Let's get right into the verdict.
Former Idaho softball coach was accused of inappropriate contact with a minor, but a jury just acquitted her. And now she is planning a massive lawsuit against the sheriff and the prosecutor. Her lawyer is here to talk about it all. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
So not only did she get acquitted, she's now suing the school. We got to deep dive into it. Comment below what y'all think. Was it a mistake or did you... Let's get right to it.
Riley Ann Lutz has been fighting off allegations of sexual misconduct since 2023 when she was first accused of sexually abusing a 17-year-old student athlete from Bear Lake High School in Idaho. Lutz had been an assistant softball coach, but she had lost that job when these allegations came out. Now, Bear Lake County brought charges. She could have faced a life sentence in prison if she was convicted. But after a trial that lasted several days, it only took the jury 30 minutes to acquit her. And that now brings us to a new lawsuit that we're going to talk about. But here's what we know about the case to get you up to speed. So Lutz was arrested in March of 2023. She was charged with 2 felony counts of sexual battery of a minor, very serious charges. And authorities said that this alleged abuse happened between September 2021 and June 2022 before the student turned 18. But Lutz and her attorney say the sheriff of Bear Lake County, Sheriff Bart Heslington, launched this investigation essentially based on misinformation, lies. She claims the sheriff made all sorts of false statements, pushed for the prosecutor to file charges, which, by the way, Lutz believes was done maliciously. And this drama is unfolding, I should tell you, in the small city of Paris, Idaho, and the area around it. Now, Lutz says the sheriff knew the alleged victim, having been her basketball coach in middle school. The teen has reportedly had struggles with emotional well-being, her mental health, intellectual limitations. And Lutz's attorneys believe that the sheriff coerced her into accusing Lutz of misconduct, despite the alleged victim herself saying in the beginning that this wasn't true. Now, Lutz claims that this young woman eventually changed her story, testified at trial, but according to local media outlets, she was never really able to clarify what exactly happened and when. And before Lutz went to trial in November, she filed a tort claim. So this is an intention to file a lawsuit against the government. This was going to be against Bear Lake County, the sheriff's office, the sheriff himself.
You telling me they went all the way to trial when they didn't even know what happened or when it happened? It was no what or when. They ain't go through the 5 W's. Ain't this thing called the 5 W's? What, where, when, how, who? They ain't got when or where.
The deputy, the prosecutor, and the woman, who's now an adult, because of the sheriff accusing Lutz of sexually assaulting this person. Now, the claim was actually voluntarily dismissed by Lutz, but what it does is it gives us insight into what a new lawsuit expected to be filed in January will address. So according to this complaint, quote, Sheriff Bart Heslington did not have any personal knowledge that the teen and Riley Lutz engaged in a sexual relationship before the teen turned 18 years old. Sheriff Bart Heslington lied about the extent of his knowledge regarding the nature and extent of the relationship between the teen and Riley Lutz to the teen's mother and the teen. Sheriff Bart Heslington sought to manipulate the teen with what he stated was what he knew about the relationship between the teen and Riley Lutz in an effort to overbear her will. And according to the complaint, the sheriff claimed that there was video, photo evidence of the sexual contact between Lutz and the teen, but according to Lutz and her legal team, there is no evidence, and they say the sheriff knew that. And also, according to Lutz, there was a search warrant that was based on alleged misinformation from the sheriff that led to the department being able to see thousands of messages sent on Snapchat by Lutz over a period of several months. But according to them, no evidence was ever found of a sexual or romantic relationship between Lutz and the teen on that platform. Transcripts from interviews between the sheriff and the teen, they also appear to highlight what seems to be the...
That's still weird. I don't care what you say. You should never have your coach on Snapchat, especially sending thousands of messages back and forth. You are now blurring the line between staff and student relationship. That is your friend. That is a friend-to-friend relationship. Maybe I'm wrong. Comment below. Should a student be able to have a staff member on Snapchat or Instagram during them being a student-staff relationship? And if so, how far can the relationship go? Can they send thousands of messages back and forth? Let me know what y'all think.
Confusion that this teen may have been experiencing, and the multiple times that she changed her story seemingly to agree with the sheriff. And when this case went to trial before Thanksgiving, the prosecutors called the sheriff, they called the alleged victim, they called the alleged victim's mother to testify. The defense called 22 of its own witnesses, including experts, colleagues, softball coaches, players, and family members of Lutz. And Lutz herself even got on the stand and testified in her own defense. And as I mentioned, she was facing a life sentence if she were convicted, but she was acquitted. And now he is planning a massive malicious prosecution and defamation suit against the people that he says falsely accused his client and ruined her life. So for that, I want to bring in Christian to talk about this right now. Christian, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I mean, my goodness, so you're representing Ms. Lutz in two different capacities. You represented her at the criminal trial, got an acquittal, now representing her also in this civil action. First, what was the reaction to the acquittal?
You know, it was vindication, really. As far as Joy, the people of Bear Lake, I mean, they get it. They understand their constitutional responsibility to listen to all the evidence. And the reality is that the state didn't have any evidence. In fact, when we spoke with the jurors afterwards, the decision was made within minutes of going in. We follow David Ball's rule out theory that he just recently released. It's a system of reminding the jury that the state has an obligation to rule out all reasonable doubts before they bring the case. And in this case, there wasn't. And in fact, during trial, we had several statements by the investigating officer that says, you know, we don't even know what the timeline is. He also told us, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. And that was a main theme of our case, was the investigating officer, the sheriff of the county, didn't let the truth get in the way of his good story. And his good story was making sure that there was a great big headline, and that was softball coach arrested and charged for sexual assault of one of her players. And the reality is that it wasn't true.
Yeah, I want to explore that.
The way he broke that down, boy, you need you a lawyer. Not one of them ones they give you. You need to put a little money down, put a little money to the side, okay? That's the difference between going to jail and walking away with millions. She will walk away with millions, not because of what happened, it's because of what he is as a lawyer. For that guy to be that good and well-spoken, to break it down quickly and understandably, he deserved the money.
A little bit before we do, if you can put our eyes and ears into that courtroom for a minute. The young woman who's at the center of this case, she testified. What were the problems in her testimony?
So, without going into too much detail, the young gal is adopted. She's an African American in a white community. She has intellectual disabilities. She has some emotional problems, psychological, mental health issues, and she was emotionally fragile. She had a relationship with the coach before, and when she ultimately got on the stand, you know, it took her 4 days of witness prep with the prosecutor before trial. And to what? To be honest and to tell the truth. Why does it take 4 days? Well, the reason it takes 4 days is because she needed to be continued to reminded about what she had told the sheriff when he was examining her and putting thoughts and words in her mind. So when she was on direct, she did a fairly passable job, but on cross examination, she crumbled and she essentially admitted to everything that we were asking her. And it showed the jury that she was very suggestible, that she would be willing to adopt anything that anybody told her. After the jury was released, the judge started asking her some questions as well to verify kind of what her capacity was to testify. And the judge even remarked that her story changed so much that he wasn't sure that she was even credible, but allowed it to go to the jury. And again, it's just a really sad story. She's a victim in this situation, the same way my client was.
It's not even really clear if it happened or not. That's the weird thing here. Like, yeah, she got acquitted, but it seems it's more of a case of the main witness isn't really up to par. We don't really know the truth here. All we know is a good lawyer, a pretty face, and a delinquent kid. I didn't even have to paint a picture there. It painted itself.
And that's of a sheriff that did a poor investigation and planted ideas in this young gal's head and made him stick.
I know this is a rather long story, but if you could briefly explain, how did the investigation even start? What caused this? And again, the bigger question is, why would, in your opinion, based on your allegations, the sheriff and the prosecutors, why were they out to get your client? I think that's the big question mark.
So let's separate two different things. The prosecutor, I don't per se believe was out to get my client as much as the prosecutor was willing to be a lapdog and a gopher for the sheriff. The sheriff had been a longtime elected person in the county. The prosecutor is not elected in that county. He's actually, there are no attorneys in that county. So they went to a neighboring county, contracted with him, and he'd been the prosecutor for 2 years. The prior prosecutor had been disbarred for inappropriate contact with clients, and so there's a lot of different things that were going on there. As far as the sheriff, it's his fiefdom, right? It is set just shy of 7,000 people in the county, and he rules it. And when I spoke with the prior prosecutor, I was trying to get some background information. This was the first case I had taken in that county. It's about 6 hours from where I live in Boise area. And he let me know. He said the sheriff picks and chooses who they go after. Why my client? One of the things that we have a belief on is that my client's grandmother used to work for the sheriff and gave him the double bird salute on her way out, telling how unethical he was and how he was misappropriating funds, a ton of different problems that she exposed. And we believe that this was a great opportunity for him to get back at somebody that was kind of a rival, somebody who was advocating in the community that he wasn't a person that people should trust or support with their votes.
This is a big thing in small towns, man. Small towns are not run by who you think they are, not by these underground criminals or by the government. No, it's usually by the elected sheriff that's been there forever and they know how to play cards. Police are the biggest gangs, allegedly, to me. Police, when they organize in these small towns, they are literally like militia groups that are being led by 1 to 2 people, and they go after specific targets that those 1 or 2 people want to go after. Small towns really need to be evaluated because this is showing that not only this don't just happen here, this happens in every state in the small towns. Comment below if you live in a small town and this has happened near you or to somebody you know.
And just to be clear, are you suggesting that the sheriff approached this who was a young girl at the time, just approached her and said, put ideas in her head, or did she come forward first? Again, how did this ignite?
It was just a confluence of some good facts for the sheriff. In this situation, the young gal was suicidal. There was a gal on the softball team who had attempted suicide. And my client and the other coaches went to the team and said, hey, if anybody is having these problems, anybody is feeling the strain of that mental health, call us. And so what ended up happening is this young gal started calling my client, and my client would talk to her and reassure her that life was worth living. And through those conversations, the young gal developed an infatuation with my client, unknown to my client. Uh, she had told other players on the team that she thought my client was cute, attractive, things like that. Um, anyway, what ended up happening later was this gal actually kissed my client. My client said, "No, that's not acceptable." Um, Drew the line.
This is where I told y'all it's a little blurry. This one's a little blurry. She might be getting away with millions, but this one seems like it's not as black and white as we think. It's a little gray. It's getting a little scary.
And my client thought that that was the end of it. Well, then the rumors started. The rumor started from this young gal saying that, "Oh, I've got a sugar mama." And what we found out through discovery, through a lot of subpoenas, a lot of hard work on our side, is that this gal, like I said, had a mental health disorder that she needed a lot of attention. She didn't feel like she fit in. She felt like she was really an outsider and really was trying to get a lot of people's attention.
This case is really interesting because it seems like they're really painting the picture of she's a very disgruntled teenager and their client is just such a helpful lady. And it's never that simple. Y'all should do your own research before judging anyone. Hit the like button, comment below, subscribe, join the family, and while you're at it, go to Law and Crime Network. Do the same. Till the next one, I'm out. Peace.